on the website. This guy, our hero, needs changing into a tall sprite as well, which I have been in the middle of working on. Oops, banned from Twitch. It was just a split second. But I honestly don't believe I'd get banned from that, would I? I mean, come on. Good morning and happy time zone. Hi Van, how are you doing? You just missed the nudity on stream. The pixel nudity that I accidentally showed. I better cross that off. It's unfortunate because I would love to show you the hero assets so far. They're a bit blue at the moment, but that's the colour they are at the start of the character creator when you haven't picked their complexion yet. I actually saw a bit of brief blue sight. LOL. Hi, had a nice weekend. Hi Met, how you doing? Yeah, so I've crossed that off now, but just so you know guys, I'm doing that off stream. I'm going to be working on getting those hero assets put together. The character creator, the hero creator right at the start of the game is going to have a little bit of an overhaul slightly. Bits of the dialogue are going to just get changed just a touch. And obviously there's going to be a tall sprite instead, and just a few little changes, and I'm trying to figure out a way. It's a little bit technical and out of my comfort zone, but I'm trying to figure out a way to make the process easier for me in regards to the custom hero assets. I'm seeing if there's anything out there that can do that, so I'm not sure yet, still looking for something, but of course I'll be sharing all that with you when it's complete, because it's probably going to take a couple of weeks for me to get it all sorted. Hi Shaskoski, how you doing? It's good to see you. You wouldn't get banned unless our resident NSA agent reported you to Twitch, probably. Twitch is too strict. Like, if you get banned for pixel nudity, that is going a bit overboard in my opinion. What do you guys think about that? Is it too much? I certainly think so. But good afternoon to you as well, Siskoski. Okay, so yes, I intend to update this to tall sprite. I'm also probably going to get rid of, you can't see it on stream, but there is a black mushroom silhouette on that website for an image. I am going to change to full colour sprites on the map. That's my intention eventually, so for reasons. We're not going to get into it right now because battle system stuff is coming after, not till the new year. It's all about tidying up the dialogue and the scenes first, then we'll move on to the battle system in January, New Year time, and hopefully we'll get that polished enough for a first playable test build in March. And what else? Oh yeah, these screenshots are going to need an update too, because we've got small sprite rows on here at the moment, and obviously the small hero sprite, and I think it'll be nice to just get them updated as a peeps now. So there's a few graphical things to alter, and some of you, I don't know, some of you might know, some of you might not. Look, big shocker. This is exciting to see, isn't it? Even though it's all blank at the moment, it's still exciting. It's you can't see it because it crops it off my overlay, but it says beta mode at the top. So the page isn't public yet. Of course, it wouldn't be when it's like this, no images. But I've got it there ready, and I'm slowly adding things. Things will slowly get added, and once it's all at a good state, once we've got the images in, the updated screenshots, etc., and that it will eventually be made public. so I'll obviously be keeping you guys updated when it finally does, when it is finally ready. Fun times. And yes, the game, just to be very straightforward, it's not coming out. Just because we got the Steam page up doesn't mean it's anywhere close to release. It's going to just have a coming soon or TBD thing, because it's smart to get your Steam page early when you're an indie dev. If your priority is building a community and growing an audience, it's the smartest thing to do, because you can get that wish list slowly built up over the time. Whereas if I was to say get the Steam page up just a couple of months before the official release, it wouldn't be very promising, you know. We wouldn't have had enough time to build up the wish lists and everything. Hi Chum, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. You'll get away with a brief blue bum. There was boobies there as well, though, not just a bum, because it was the female one. You know, Twitch alike with the boobies. Banned immediately, even if it's pixels with no nipples. They've got no mercy. If I'm completely honest, if you properly tag your stream as 18 plus, you should be fine, and you'd only need that tag for the streams where pixel nudity might be likely, but I don't know, I'm not an expert. Yeah, it's a weird thing, you know, like, I mean, I know things are really strict now in regards to age ratings, but am I a little bit too lenient if I think that pixel nudity shouldn't be 18 plus? Like, obviously that's my opinion, I've got to go by the rules, but I feel like it's 13 plus pixel nudity, because it's not like a full grown proper graphic human being. But no nips, if I recall correctly. Boobies. Yeah, there was no nipples on the pixels, which is literally booby shapes, but there has to be that, because that's how the clothes get fitted on the character properly, right? Gotta have them. But yes, I could always do that, even though I've never wanted to put my stream as a mature stream, because I've never really felt that my content's 18 plus. I don't even swear, like, ever. Not that that's the only thing that makes a stream 18 plus, but yes, I don't want to limit the audience either. I think people are fine to come in the stream if they're slightly under 18. Not if you're 12, probably, but but yeah, gotta have realistic physics too. But yeah. Should be okay. It's not like, I mean, if it turns out it is really a problem to show that if Twitch really is that strict, then I'll just avoid showing that layer on the pixel art of the character. Simple as. It was kind of an accident that I showed it today anyway. And Tetsu, thank you so much for that sub. Oh my god, what a gigantic amount of months. Let's have some hype in chat, everybody. How are you doing, Tetsu? Thanks so much for that support. You're one of our longest subs here in this channel, so that's something to be really proud of. Thank you very much. How are you doing, Tetsu? Thanks for the hype, man. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know about the Steam page in case you don't follow us on the Twitter, but I'm gonna put it in chat as well. There we go. I didn't do the screenshot Saturday that I promised. This week I was like, at the end of the last stream, I was like, everybody look out for the screenshot Saturday, it's going to be coming up. I was going to post the new taller sprites, like all the characters, as a screenshot Saturday. In the end I never did, because it was taking too much time. Mainly Twitter's image optimization for GIFs and pixel art absolutely sucks. You can do it and you can make it look crisp, but it's very, very weird, like the image sizing and all that, and I couldn't get it working. And I thought, I'm going to spend all day just doing this, and it's going to waste my time because I could be doing something more useful with the project. So I just gave up in the end. But in regards to like the screenshot Saturdays, I like to do them because you never know who sees it and finds out about the project that way, and the game that way. But I feel like once the first playable build out, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for me to grab a bit of content and stick it in a screenshot Saturday, and it'll take less time out of my day as well once we've got the content to easily do that. And wait, was that a cardboard box doing the it was if you mean the alert for the sub, it was one of our characters in the game, Woody, who is here. There he is. I love a cardboard box. He was there in emote form because we have an emote of him in the channel. It's one of the bit badge rewards, I believe. Yeah, bits reward, and it's the Gasm emote, the Twitch Gasm emote. It's very famous on Twitch. I think every streamer's got a Gasm emote, and I thought there's no better character to be doing that than Woody. It was just too appropriate to refuse. When do we get an Axel alert? I love that you're giving Axel some love, Zexy. One day Axel will be part of the barrel crew officially. I don't know if you've noticed, guys, but I've been alternating the barrel pictures each day of the week on the social medias. It's Monday today, so Carol has to be up there on a Monday, let's face it. She's the grumpiest, and with that face you can't get more Monday than that. So there's only 6 of the container codes so far, which means there's a spare day of the week, so Oliver gets the whole weekend. But when Axel gets made, he will steal Saturday from Oliver. So I think there might be a way to do a schedule to all of this that changes the pictures automatically, which will be easier for me. Someone sent me a link in chat the other day, so I'm going to have a proper look at that. And Barrel in a Bra, yeah, they're a very wacky bunch. They're a wacky bunch of characters, but they are they really are the, what do you call it, the MVPs of the game, I guess. They drive the main plot, so, you know, they're special. And I'm going to use any excuse to make them more involved as I can, because at the moment they're not in the present day. They've only been in one single flashback, but I'm purposely thinking of ways to get them more involved. I've even attempted to, if we're looking general ideas discussion, thought of a way to integrate them into the heroes development. So I made a massive Google Doc rambling on about this sort of this concept, and it's it includes the addition of a lucky charm in the custom hero creator, which would be one of their items, but it's pretty complicated, so you'd have to read it, guys, because there's a bit of explanation involved. But yes, there'll be more flashbacks too. More flashbacks. So, I mean, as an example, I don't know who here knows about the whole lucky charm concept that I recently came up with, but it's basically you as the hero would hold an item that belonged to one of the barrels right at the start of the game, because you would have at some point found yourself on the wagon they got kidnapped in and took one of those items for yourself, and it's become your lucky charm. So but like I said, it's pretty complex to go into. If I was re-explaining it on stream right now, I'd take about 40 minutes talking about it, because it's very complicated if you want to know all the ins and outs. But we were editing the Carol dialogue recently. Where did we get on here? Here we go. So it mentions it here in the updated Carol dialogue, but I also figured a way this weekend to make it work with flashback based on something we talked about in last stream. potentially. Like if you had Meryl's bra, a girl in Lakefall that put that bra onto Meryl, it could trigger a flashback with her, perhaps. I'm rambling now, but we can have a story stream this week, and I'll be able to go into it in proper detail, because Van had an idea. Vandalia had a really cute, wholesome idea about how Meryl was built like May, like the bra and the lipstick, and that a girl originally did do that to Meryl, and I thought that would be a really cute flashback for us to see, but how would it be triggered is the question. So I kind of had a sort of idea, but there's still things to think of. Hi Dava, how are you doing? Woody is a barrel just like anyone else. Yeah, he wants to be made out of wood. Bless him. Thank you, Chum, for the follow. How you doing? The barrel crew is a really fun part of this game, in my opinion. I like it. What kind of mascot of this? Kind of the mascot of this game. Yeah, exactly, sort of. It is. And I feel like it makes it stand out among the typical fantasy RPGs out there, because nowadays there's how many fantasy RPGs? A bazillion? Maybe that's an exaggeration, but yeah, not every fantasy RPG has these characters in, that's for sure. And what program are you using to plot the script out? This is amazing. Hi Overland, how are you doing? Thank you so much for kind words. I've got all the everything I use to put the dialogue and the scenes in is Draw.io. It's not really the most elegant of programs. I mean, it's free, but I've been using it for a while and I'm used to it now, and I've managed to get a sort of look that I like with the dialogue boxes as well. It looks super pretty now. And this is an out-there idea, might be too complex to implement, but what if you got the Lucky Charms on future playthroughs, like as part of the new game plus for Chapter 1? I mean, the new game concept has been very briefly brought up in stream in the past, but I don't know if it's going to be something I'm actually going to implement, because it could overcomplicate things. Raindrop Chronicles is a very replayable game as it is, because there's going to be multiple endings, multiple romance choices, multiple ways that you can treat the NPCs and mould your hero. So would it even be necessary to have a new game plus? Because in a way, you can just have a normal new game, right? But I don't know. I'm not like a New Game Plus expert. I might need to educate myself on why New Game Plus is handy. Because the only thing I'm aware of is New Game Plus is the same as a normal new game, except you've got all your stats already built up. I don't know. That's how it is when I've played games in the past. That's what I mean, Van. I'm kind of I need to educate myself on the main advantage with New Game Plus compared to just a plain old new game, like really. It's a little bit complicated with Raindrop Chronicles being episodic as well, I guess, because whatever you are at the end of episode 1, it's not like the end of the game, is it? There's going to be episode 2, 3 onwards where the skill progression, and that you'll get a stronger in the later episodes. You're still going to be kind of weak in episode 1, but I imagine like the average player who's say really into the game and wants to unlock loads of different endings, I'll just have a save file with lots of different saves of their different saved games. And I suppose the idea would be for each of those save files to carry on to episode 2, and those variables are all stored in the save files, and however, when you start episode 2, whatever you did, the actions you made will carry on with that save file. I've been using Twine for a while. It takes a bit to get used to over CSS and code with it, but it's worked so far. Cool. I looked at Twine. It went over my head though, because there's a lot of like codey bits with it, and it's kind of more like a choose your own adventure sort of format, isn't it, when you do the preview, which totally is a cool way of presenting it. But it adds a little bit of it makes it kind of also a bit overly complex as well, compared, because all these dialogue branches are going to just simply get inserted into RPG Maker as plain old text, you see, and all the additions of code in Twine could just overcomplicate it all and make the process just a bit confusing of converting things over. I'm kind of a minimal person in that way, and just having the plain old text there on the screen is easier for me. There's a lot of organisation involved though, don't get me wrong. You've got to make sure the branches are very clear, and because otherwise you'll get confused seeing just a big mess of branches on the screen. But yeah, everybody should use the tool they're comfortable with and what they enjoy. That's my opinion. But yeah, so I mean, the whole Lucky Charm thing, I kind of went into it very briefly there, and it might have got super confusing if you don't already know about the concept. But if anyone who is interested, feel free to read this document in the idea channel, because there's pages of this. I think it's 5 pages of explanation about it. Because I'm not just inserting the mechanic or narrative, because it is narrative as well, it's not just a game mechanic, for the sake of it. There's a reason why it's there, and it's so that it can sort of enhance the game overall and the experience, and even be a potential story element a bit later on for a quest, and the reason how we're able to even find the barrels in the end, and kind of work out where they are, which was Met's idea, I believe, which there's a little bit of an explanation for there. But it's also to add more tension to Carol and the hero's relationship as well, because you've got this item that belonged to one of the family members and she's not even aware of that, and you might even get the chance to own up to her at some point and tell her you've got it if you're brave enough. And the longer you take to tell her the truth could impact your relationship with her. It also mainly makes the hero more involved in the plot. You know, it gives him a purpose and a kind of reason for why he's trying to find this cart himself or herself or themselves. They're not just a Carol follower puppet who's going along with the journey just for the sake of it. There's a little bit more selfishness involved in why the hero's going along with Carol. Looking, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. I use Twine myself. The default story format is easier to deal with, but the functionality is limited. Some of the other story formats have more functionality but get a bit more hardcore with the coding. Yeah. And converting to Twine over anything else can be difficult. Even porting it to Weebly or Itch for other folks to play can be a headache, yeah. I guess it depends what sort of game you're making. If you're making like an adventure game, I think it'd be a really good tool. Especially because you actually see it in that choose your adventure novel format. I'm reinstalling Discord on my laptop so I can read that without closing stream. Offhandedly, it sounds like Lucky Charms are a good idea. Yeah, and I was so just keen on making these characters more key from the very beginning. And it kind of adds a surprise element then as well when you do, in Main Quest 2, when you do watch the flashback scene, because players who are a bit ignorant of the story might be like, oh, that's the bra I've got, that's my Lucky Charm, or that's the Alvira pipe, smoking pipe that I've got, or that's the red ribbon. They might finally click, but if they don't, they'll realise when the hero kind of gets it out of his pocket later and is like, oh crap, this is Carol's family member's thingy-majig. She's going to kill me. She's going to kick my butt when she finds out I've got this. Which she would. She definitely would. So yeah, it also like would add different variations and outcomes in the story as well, because of course if Meryl doesn't have her bra in one playthrough, it could affect her arc potentially. I mean, the bra is very, very a huge part of her character and individuality. It might be the reason Axel wanted to be with her for all we know. We don't know the details, but what would Axel say if she didn't have it anymore? You had the option to give the item back to them maybe when you meet them, and it could change your relationship with them. My thought with the Hank one was, if you have his piece of wood, then when you later, very later on, when you meet Hank in a future episode, you can fix him up because you've got the wood bit and you're able to fix him up, and that would be quite wholesome. Or you could do the opposite, be an asshole and be like, you're never getting this back, and Hank could be all sad. But yes, like if you say had Oliver's red ribbon, we talked in the past about a boy called Oliver actually living in Lakefall who owned that cookie jar previously. If you talked to him and gave him that red ribbon, he'd be like, oh, that belonged to my cookie jar, and it could trigger a flashback. It could be like a non-forced way of triggering a flashback of Oliver's past, for example, when he was a cookie jar. And same with the Meryl bra thing. If you give it to the girl who owned the bra previously, the one who put it on Meryl and put the lipstick on Meryl, she'd be like, that was my barrels, and then that could trigger the flashback. So it's like a sort of way to not force the, like, because I'm not a fan of like exposition and that makes no sense and it's just given to the player with any like context. So that could be a way of doing it. But of course that would mean that only certain players would get that flashback unlocked if they've got that item to trigger that flashback in the first place. It makes the game have so much replayability and secret unlockable things that certain people wouldn't have unlocked if they did it differently or had a different item. Richard, thank you so much for the 15 months. I appreciate it. How are you doing, Richard? Thanks so much for the support. I'm going to catch up with chat in a minute, you awesome people. So there we go. Let's give some hi to Richard, everyone. How are things? How's your weekend, Richard? And hi, Rod. How are things? It's super good to see you. And RPG Maker is fun. I haven't done a lot of stuff with it. Importing tile sets was a headache for me. It's exciting to see the games that come out of it though. Yeah, I use Tiled for my tile sets now because originally I was doing parallax mapping because I wanted detailed maps that are very layered. I think that the RPG Maker tile set editor is very basic, so I wanted to kind of make it more ambitious. So I started with parallax maps, but then I deeply regretted it because I realised that I couldn't edit any of the maps very easily. For example, if I ever did an asset overhaul in the future, which could be likely, I mean we're still in the very early pre-alpha and I do want some custom assets made to give the game a unique edge. If I ever wanted to do something like that, that would mean I'd have to redo all of the parallax maps over again. But with tiles, now I've switched to tiled, it's easy. Any updates in the tile set will automatically update in the game straight away once the tile set is saved. Tiled was a bit confusing to get my head around because it's kind of a little bit technical, but I learned the process and it's super good because it's just a plugin for RPG Maker that lets you have more layers on your tiles. So I managed to achieve the whole parallax map look, but with tiles. So that was a dream come true. And I'm more of a tabletop RPG game maker like Dungeons and Dragons, but I really like all kinds of RPGs, digital or tabletop. That's awesome. Yeah, I gotta love D&D. I'm not like a D&D pro or anything, but I am currently playing in a campaign and it is lots of fun. I love anything that involves creating a character because that's my favourite things. That's my favourite thing to do, characters and stories and all that. And are you using Harlow Default or one of the others? And prefer Sugar Cube? I've never even heard of these programs. Binary, thank you so much for the 11 months. I appreciate it. I have a lot of chat to catch up on right now. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys, and for all the rambles. I appreciate it. I'm the one who rambles, let's face it. How you doing, Binary? Thanks so much for the 11 months. That's like nearly a whole year. What the hell? Thanks for the support. Zexy says, without the bra, how could Axel recognise her? Exactly, Zexy. That could be something that happens. Maybe Meryl's bra is what how Axel even knows it's Meryl. I mean, who knows? Maybe he only loves her because of the bra. Maybe he's shallow. But that's like I said last stream, I want Axel and Meryl to be a very wholesome relationship in the story. It seems toxic on the surface and shallow on the surface, especially when we hear Alvira's point of view first, that he's no good for her and a waste of space. But I kind of like the idea of subverting expectations and actually making Axel and Meryl really cute together. But who knows how their story would go, because it's very early days. But things could play differently if Meryl didn't have her bra on in a playthrough, that's for sure. Things could play out differently if Alvira didn't have her smoking pipe. I mean, what would she do? What would Alvira be like if she didn't have her smoke thing? I mean, it could be everything to her. It's how she could have the sass. Is she addicted to smoking? Does she have an addiction? She's a character we need to develop a little bit more, because all we know about her so far is that she's a racist. And we want to make her a little bit more likeable, because nobody likes Alvira right now. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe some people do like Alvira, but it's hard to like someone who's so xenophobic. Yeah, how would Oliver look without his ribbon? He'd be naked, bless him. But Woody's item would be a sticker, because it was discussed in chat that we should do like a sticker on the side of Woody that you can only see when he's from the side, and it could be like a logo of a company in the game. But we haven't done the world building for that just yet. We haven't thought of any like corporations or any law stuff regarding that just yet, so we can't make a logo sticker on Woody just yet. But it makes sense for a sticker to be on a box, you know, to show where he came from and what he was used for. So yes, fun times. Optional Axel romance route. Player wears the bra instead of getting it back. Oh my god. That weirdly works. It would break my heart because you would have stolen Axel off Meryl. But it works. Like, if you did that might get Axel. That might make Axel romance you. How wacky and hilarious is that? I like it, Zexy. Thanks for being so creative. Oh my god. And things are going well. My boss is on vacation, so by proxy I'm at work, but kind of on vacation too. Oh, that's awesome, Richard. Having a boss on vacation is the best thing ever. I know when I used to work in an office before I started streaming, I hated it because they'd spy on you all the while what you were doing. I used to spend my time at work looking at artwork to kind of get my creative juices flowing, because I found the work very boring. It was just like admin stuff, so I needed my creative juices flowing. And the girl that sat next to me grassed me up to the manager and said like I was like doing things I shouldn't be, and then I was looking over my shoulder all the time. So I love it. I like that, Richard. When the boss is away, we can all turn into rebels. I'm a bad influence. Any plans for the evening? What am I doing this evening? Actually don't know. Probably still doing my usual. It's being at my desk. Might get some snacks, because I fancy some snacks tonight. How about you though, Rod? Have a good evening, stay warm until next time. Yeah, you too, Rod. Thanks for coming and hanging out, being fab. Doing good, thank you. Busy with work, all positive stuff. Hope you and chat are doing well. I'm doing good, chat doing good. I'm just excited because the Steam page is up, everyone. It's gonna get, when this finally goes live and is made public, I'm gonna be advertising it all over the place, okay? So I hope that some of you would wish list it, because that would make me very happy and excited. Okay, everyone. So we've had some good discussions about how things might go, and it's very fascinating, I have to say. All the different variables and the different ways this blooming game's gonna go. I mean, it's definitely ambitious, but it's just so fun that I get so much joy out of like doing that. To me, I find that more fun than a typical linear story, because what fascinates me is when people play the game, things would just go very different for different players. Different players would have different experiences, and that concept is just so fun to me. And so it's so fun. And this evening you're eating dinner, then finalising selling your IP to EA. Zexy is clearly thinking it's opposite day today, because that is the one thing I would never do in a million years. That's the opposite, and Zexy knows it. Zexy knows it for sure. I'd have a hard time selling my IP to even a publisher I even admire, if I'm honest, because I'm very kind of just very indie. I'm very proud and very like careful. I'd like be scared. I'd be like, but I don't want them like having the ownership of Carol the Barrel. She's mine. That's what I think. Oh my goodness. Okay, everyone. So we have titled the stream as a dialogue stream today, a quest and dialogue stream, and as some of you know, what that involves is smoothing over all the dialogue that's been done so far for Main Quest 1 and 2. We're not starting Main Quest 3 dialogue until the first playable build's out, because we're working on 0.1 version, which will only have Main Quest 1 and 2 in it. So it's a very, very, very basic playable test demo of the game basically, and it will stop after Main Quest 2. So Main Quest 3 we'll start that once we've got the first playable build out of the way, because I like the idea of doing it in little bits, little segments, rather than just try and do everything in one go. It'll all turn into a big mess, and it gets a bit scary, especially when it comes to testing, because it's much less overwhelming to do a little bit and then test all that, make sure it's smooth. Like, I'd release the build, whoever wants to play it can, and they could test it if they wish, and I might have to obviously fix a few things that need fixing, and it's so much less overwhelming to only have to fix Main Quest 1 and 2, rather than do all the story in one go, release a build then, and then have too much work on my shoulders. So yes, even though I'm super excited about writing Main Quest 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, because there'll be 6 main quests in episode 1. I think each episode I'm going to follow that same structure if I can, what was I going to say? Oh my gosh, I've got a brain blank. But yes, we're gonna definitely get the outlines done for main quest 3, 4, 5 and 6, like a very basic skeleton of what's going to happen in the plot in those quests. We'll have chats, we'll have potential polls, we'll decide together what cool things should happen. But we won't actually get really deep into writing the scenes and dialogues until the first paper build's over. So for now, we're just smoothing out the dialogue we've already done. So it can be awesome when I release the first paper build next year, early next year. And where are we? If you go on the Lore Bible, folks, you'll be able to see this yourself. So we've got all of main quest 1 here. If I zoom out, you'll be able to see it. Here's all the 5 scenes in main quest 1, folks, but we were in the middle of continuing this one, which I think we'll do a bit of that today. And here is main quest 2's dialogue, which we're in the process of getting copied and pasted over, because we've already done the dialogue for this quest, but it's all messy. It's all in here and all messy, and it's all going to get pasted over in our new format, which was what I was kind of doing in the stream before last, and we were having a little talk about the characters as we was doing it and their sort of personalities, and it was fun. I think I want to continue doing that, because it's cool, and if there's anything that we feel needs altering, I would totally be up for it, because this said Fields of Heaven, and we decided to change it to the Afterlife because we felt that was a more generic term that was not related to Christianity as much, which we don't want. We don't want to link our game to real planet Earth elements, really, not those ones. We want our own lore. So I changed it to Afterlife because it's more generic and fitting and appropriate, and so it was cool to chat about the characters. We did that, but we do have to finish main quest 3 now. If you go in the story so far section, exclamation mark. Oh, hi Kung, how you doing? It's so good to see you. If anyone who wants to follow the dialogue as we do it, it is embedded into the Lore Bible, because it's a really cool way for us to collaborate then and get the most awesome dialogue we can together. If the community can see it as we do it properly. So all of main quest 1 is in there, and as you know, I've got to be continued for that because we're in the process of still doing it. And main quest 2, we're kind of in the process of getting that done, because there's some very bulky, very heavy dialogue scenes in main quest 2, so it's kind of time consuming. Not too bulky. Like when I say bulky, it's a 4-minute long scene. 4-minute long scene, the barrel flashback scene, and the fruit scene is a touch longer, maybe a 4 or 5 minute scene. But I have a rule that every dialogue box, even though there's lots of dialogue in this game, every dialogue box matters and has to have a purpose. If it's fluff, it gets deleted. The dialogue box either has to drive the plot forward or develop a character or inform us of something significant. Because it's such a branching path heavy game, I'm even more careful about that, because otherwise we could see ourselves with a bazillion trillion words by the end of this. Okay, so and yes, this is what we did last stream, everyone. Spoilers though, so hide your eyes if you don't want to know spoilers, but if you are very interested on what Carol's tragic backstory is, here it is, because we had a Halloween stream where we talked about Carol's tragic backstory, because Carol, let's just be honest, she is a very angry lady. She doesn't like humans, she calls them flashbacks, and there's something within her that is a very unhappy, angry person, and there's a reason for why she's that way, and this is it. This is why Carol's the angry person she is. We don't know how this flashback's going to get revealed yet. We don't even know when in the story it will get revealed, but at some point or another it will be. Maybe I mean, we'll see, because this happens in Lakefall, so it kind of makes sense for us to find out about it in episode 1, because it might feel a bit late if we introduce it to that, but I don't know. We'll see whatever works best. But it's pretty dark. There's a real juxtaposition about this scene, because it's happy, everybody's having fun, but not the barrels. And the people don't even know the barrels are alive, so you can't even blame them. They're not even evil, they're just unaware, and it's kind of tragic. But this was a combination of Kung and Xaver's ideas, with a few of the rest of you having a little bit of input as well. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Getting feedback and fixing Main Quest 1 and 2 will also give you lots of experience, and Main Quest 3 even easier to write and build. Yeah, exactly, Zexy. And I think it's about that, like, it's a good idea to constantly, like, improve and make the scenes and dialogue as interesting and gripping as possible, because that's what we want, an awesome story. And it's going to be a good idea to know what's going to happen in Main Quest 3 well before we start writing it as well, so we know we've got that outline there ready for us, so we're not jumping into the unknown when we begin Main Quest 3. So I think we will be having some outline streams soon as well. And I've even got these scene cards now, because I feel like filling these in help us really to understand the scene that we're writing. And I've only filled in a few of them. So there's a book out there. The author's Lisa Cron. I think I've got the surname correct. And she very much recommends this method if you're a screenwriter or a novel writer, etc., to make your scenes matter. For every scene to not have fluff, basically, it's it's just so we know that every scene that's in the game has a purpose, and you haven't just got scenes in for the sake of it, because that's what fluff is, isn't it? When they're in there for the sake of it and add absolutely nothing at all. But Zexy said, is foreshadowing considered fluff? And lurking Kung, you take care and enjoy your lurk. I'd say definitely not considered fluff, Zexy. I'm a big fan of foreshadowing, and I love that idea that people think that people might look at something and think, oh, what's the significance of that, but not think anything of it. But really, there's a massive significance. Like, that to me is foreshadowing. And what's the trope? Chekhov's gun, is it? I'm a big fan. Every kind of element and thing that's brought up has a kind of purpose to some degree, however big or small. It might be huge, or it might just be small. For example, we chatted a bit about this last stream. And hi Blue, how you doing? And Code, welcome to the stream. We talked a bit about this last stream, and Zexy, you helped me with this dialogue, remember? It was fun. It was a fun times. They talked about stars, and I really loved this scene because it was a way to build lore around stars and the afterlife, and have a bunch of like myths and fairy tales thrown in that aren't necessarily facts about how the afterlife really is, but it's interesting because it's potential foreshadowing, and also something as small as Axel telling Meryl this really dark tale about the sun and the moon, because Meryl tells Oliver a scary story, right? Carol tells Oliver a really nice story, as she would because she's his mother, but Meryl comes in and tells Oliver a scary story, and she says it was Axel that told her, and it makes you think, about Axel. We haven't met him yet. We don't know who he is in this stream other than his Mel's boyfriend. But he's a pretty dark fella, because you gotta be if you've got this sort of stuff in your head. And we kind of came to the conclusion that Axel's probably had a bad relationship with his own father, because why would he why does he think that? Why does he think the son, the stars had run away from their dad, the father? So, and there was a few little discussions. Brought up something really interesting about Axel's father, and I got it saved somewhere in my notes. So there's going to be a chance to build that backstory at some point in the future about Axel, the oil drum, and his past. But yeah, he's probably had a bit of a life, that's for sure. With his own dad, who was no doubt a sentient object himself, probably. We'll have to think about that. So yeah, things like that are like foreshadowing to me. Like, it's a very subtle foreshadowing of Axel, and some people wouldn't even notice. It wouldn't even click to some people that Axel has probably got a dark past, because he was the one that told Meryl that dark story. But it kind of is a way of giving a clue, a little hint, that will make sense when players finally find out about Axel. And they'll kind of connect the dots and be like, oh yeah, Axel did tell Meryl a really horrible story that scared Oliver right at the start of the game, so it kind of makes sense now. And I just love anything that gives the character more development in a meaningful way, where we feel more connection to them. Big fan of that. Or anything that drives the plot. And to me, foreshadowing is included in something that's definitely not fluff. Fluff to me is just stuff that's boring, with no significance, that doesn't have any foreshadowing or any character development, and definitely could just be cut. So, and maybe it's a culture difference, but I would argue fluff is the stuff that builds into fleshing out characters or world building, while filler is the pointless stuff that has no point. But it's probably me being pedantic about the word choice. Yeah, so what I'm talking about is what you see as filler then. So I guess I'm seeing filler and fluff as the same thing, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe fluff is actually considered the good stuff. But yeah. But yeah, so I always say, like, Raindrop Chronicles, my aim is for it to be dialogue driven, but not necessarily dialogue heavy. But I'm all for having very long scenes with lots of dialogue if there's need, if need be, if that dialogue is really gonna really help and add a lot. So I'm not against the heavy dialogue. If as long as it drives things forward to a substantial degree. I think fluff and filler are the same too. Yeah. Well, I mean, what can we call things that? Yeah. So it's a funny thing, but yeah. I mean, I think we all agree. I think that's the thing. Even though Zex has got different words for it, I think you kind of get where we're coming from with the filler thing. So yeah, what you see, what I'm talking about is definitely what you see as filler. And I'm happy to say we don't have any filler so far. I definitely don't think we do. I think everything we've got so far here is all stuff that's very necessary. And that is kind of why, I mean, we expanded the Carol scene at the start, didn't we? Originally we only had the one dialogue box. Carol was just being really angry, and she punched the hero, and that was it. End of scene. And it worked at the time because, yeah, it was really funny and amusing, but it needed more. Something was missing. And we kept it. We still got Carol lashing out at us, but we just expanded it to a bigger degree. And I think that isn't fluff. To expand isn't fluff. I mean, it isn't filler, or should I say. To expand a scene, it doesn't have to mean that you're doing it for the sake of it, because I feel like everything that we did has a real... it is only making the story even more interesting. You know, we added some hero choices to show how high the stakes are in this game, and we introduced that choice so early on. So now it isn't Fiona. Originally, it was only this choice with Fiona Bookington in scene 4 of the main quest 1, where you as a hero make the first choice in the game, where you push her in the lake, and that's quite late. And I kind of thought, yeah, let's have a choice really early on. Let's have it involve Carol the Baron. So now we have a Lakefall villager interrupt us when they hear all the ruckus, because it was doing the scene cards that helped really with this, because I learned about cause and effect and the external and internal parts of the story, because you can't just have the external stuff. You gotta have a reason for why it's there, and sometimes you don't always know what the reason is, and you're like, well, I don't know. I was like that when I was filling this out at the start. Well, why does it matter? But it is there, it's just buried, and you have to kind of try and figure it out, like unbury it, and then when you finally unbury it, you're like, oh my god, that's why. And it really helps because it can make your scenes even better. Hi Chub Cheeks, how are you doing? So good to see you. Rose, this might be niche, but could this project have let me just Google that, because I want to make sure I've got the right definition. Okay. Yeah, I thought that's what you meant. Wolves. A delusion in which one imagines itself to be a wolf or other wild animal. The supposed or fabled assumption of the appearance of a wolf by a human being. See, I want Raindrop Chronicles to have all sorts of themes within the game. It's a fantasy story. It's going to be an epic saga, so over time there's going to be a bunch of themes. And you guys have the option to submit your own characters if you get 1,000 raindrops, so you have that kind of option yourself to insert your own themes into the game. But my job is to make sure it's all very well directed and structured, all in the right parts. So certain characters aren't going to come until a future episode if their character arc and themes seem to not be related to the episode. Like, for example, episode 1 takes place in an enchanted forest, so naturally the characters that are kind of going to be involved in this episode are going to be the ones that kind of link best to the plot of this episode and the themes of this episode. But you know, episode 2 is going to probably be very different from episode 1 in terms of the themes it's about. Because episode 1's about, well, at heart it's about not being accepted and prejudice, really. But it goes much deeper than just that. I mean, you've got the prejudice with the reptiles and the humans and their dislike for each other, the barrels feeling like they don't belong, the things that have come to life in the forest feeling like they're different from the humans, the fruits feeling like they're different, and they're forming these communities together because they feel like they only belong with each other. Like the barrels have their community together, the fruits have their community together, the reptiles have their community together, and the humans do. They're all like kind of very divided, and that's kind of really at heart what episode 1 is about. And I guess it's a good one to start with because it's basically Carol the Barrel's story about, you know, she really does want to be accepted deep down. She's a barrel and she doesn't like humans, and she probably feels like she only belongs with her family, and that's why she's looking for them. But she's going to go on a journey herself where she's going to realise a lot about herself. But episode 2 could touch on things that are very different as well, like the whole racism and community divisions themes, and that could be gone in episode 2 and it could be talking about something else, and I think that keeps the project fresh and fun when we get to explore different themes with different episodes. And of course we're going to have that main overarching plot. For example, with Carol the Barrel and her quest to find her family, that's the overarching plot. And it's going to have many bumps in the road, I'm sure, as we do it. But there's obviously going to be these little mini story arcs and themes between the episodes as well. So, and it's about, you know, where everything fits best, because we've got a lot of community characters submitted, some very, but obviously clearly belong in different places. Like we've got winter themed characters, we've got characters that clearly look like they belong in certain parts of the world, and Raindrop Chronicles is going to be a big world with lots of different settings, so everyone will get their chance to shine when they get introduced. But yeah, it's a matter of when, because there's 6 episodes planned so far, and the scope of episode 1 is much smaller. Like, it only takes place in this sort of forest area, but the scope's going to get a little bit bigger with the episodes, and it's kind of cool to start a bit smaller, I guess, so it's not so overwhelming, which is why we're only in the forest for episode 1. But it's still going to be pretty chunky. Episode 1 is. It's like a full game in itself, really. I see it as a small RPG, but it's definitely, even though it's an episode, it's still a game. Well, there is a werewolf in the game. Yes, there is actually a werewolf. There's a character in our lore Bible. He's called John, and he's a druid, and his lore is around being a human that transforms into a wolf, and it's kind of related to the fact that he's a druid. And there's definitely a bit of lore there, and so it exists to a certain degree, and for sure. So, but it's not the first time someone's asked that question about the wolf. Funnily enough, I had someone last week ask me that, so it's quite funny. It's been asked a bit. Trickle made up of 6. Maybe you were the same person who asked me, actually. Rube, thank you so much for the follow. How are you doing? If the main theme of Main Quest 1 is division, are you sure you don't want an ending where you can at least start the process of unification between humans and reptiles? If racism and division are bad, it might be a strange message to send if the only options are siding with one racist group or another. Well, that's the thing, because we did actually have a talk about that in one of our later story suggestathon streams, and it's not going to be as rigid as choosing a side. Like, you're not going to get a pop-up box that's going to say side with the reptiles or side with the humans. It's not going to be that black and white. It's kind of going to happen naturally, and it's more like you as the player just naturally get to decide who you're going to stand by. And there's also going to be a neutral option as well, where you can stand back and kind of do nothing and just let them all fight amongst themselves. But you'll probably, if you're more neutral in that regard, and you'll get the chance to kind of talk to certain NPCs and potentially try and change their minds or sway things a certain way or save a certain NPC if you want. It's not going to be as like rigid as you can only save the reptiles or you can only save the humans. There's a lot of intricacies involved, I guess. But I guess the overall thing is racism and prejudice, especially between two groups of people that have hated each other for so long. It's not an easy fix in reality, and it's kind of like a dream fairy tale ending if they were happily ever after, right? And I guess Raindrop Chronicles isn't a dream fantasy fairy tale story. It's more real and darker than that. But it's kind of what I think I'd ultimately like is to show some hope that things can be better, but not completely fix all the problems that are going on, because it might feel too much of a fairy tale ending. So it's getting that right balance. But yes, I also think it's important to not make the player feel like they have to pick between one of the two sides too rigidly, and give them that third option of kind of being an observer, I guess, and more of a neutral person, but still, because the fact is there's going to be humans that we like, and there's going to be reptiles that we like, right? And humans we hate, and reptiles we hate as well. But not everything's going to go the player's way either. Like, you've got this hero, but they aren't going to be this overpowered Mary Sue, and there's no happy or good ending either. Some of the endings might neither be good or bad, and it's all about perspective on what the good or bad ending was. And some endings that might have seemed good could also have negative consequences further down the road, and some endings that were bad might have more positive consequences down the road elsewhere. I like the complexity and layers of that, so it's not completely black and white. It, in regards to it being where either the humans populate Lakefall or the reptiles populate Lakefall, there's a third outcome as well, that the fruits populate Lakefall. Because if you keep them alive, they could potentially come and conquer if they've got a vampire to sacrifice. Then they'll get the ingredients they need to be able to achieve their desires. And it's kind of like, yes, the fruits aren't just this small insignificant group of characters you met in main quest 2, folks. These fruits do have a real potential to completely turn things around at the end of the episode if you've given them the chance to. So yes, there could be an ending where the fruits are the ones populating Lakefall, and Lemon is the blacksmith behind the counter, and Plum is working in the inn in place of Nigel Buckington. Like, that is kind of very, very weird and funny to a certain degree, to imagine those fruits just running a business in Lakefall, and you as the player can go back there optionally, like fast travel or whatever, and actually see them there. And they might sort of be okay with you because you did spare them, but they are still assholes, so they kind of might raise their prices in the shops, who knows. But yes, it's not so there's that third party as well, that third outcome where the fruits could actually be the ones living there. I like the idea of because the fruits otherwise could seem just a filler part of the story that were just there for the funsies and the amusement. But no, they have got a big part, and I like that kind of integrating them as a potential ending. Okay, last time I was here you were pretty anti-neutral, Path. Sorry, I missed these. Oh, it's fine, Zexy. But yeah, I guess I was sort of anti-neutral because I didn't want that, how do you call it, that route where it seems like you get to pick the easy way out. I kind of wanted to avoid an easy way out choice, because people will go for that if they think it's the easiest and nicest path, right? Like, you'll be like, yeah, I don't want to be faced with such a hard decision, so I'm going to just pick neutral because that's going to be better on my conscience, right? And I don't like to give players that easy way out if I can, because I'm evil. I'm an evil story writer. I'm George R.R. Martin, you see. So the goal is, although it might seem that the neutral path is the easy way out, it actually won't be. In some other, like Van said, it might not be good in some ways either. It could potentially have its own consequences. And it's kind of just about perspective on what consequences are bad and what are good to the player personally, because some people might think, well, actually I'm all right with that outcome. I think that was the best out of the three and I'm fine with that. And so be it if you do. But then again, sometimes heroes don't win, and I think that's the message. Because I've never liked happy endings. I've never liked overly happy stuff where, I mean, you gotta have the happy moments, don't get me wrong. I'm very, very wholesome and I love happy moments. I think you've got to have them because you need to give the audience that pleasure as well, that reward, because otherwise they're going to just be like, this is just a depressing game, I'm not getting anything out of this. So we got to have those nice moments and those heartwarming character interactions that give you joy. I'm very keen on that. But at the same time, we don't want our hero to be this Mary Sue who's changing the world so easily. I kind of like to give real lessons on that things don't always go the way you want, and there can be real ramifications that can rip your heart out as well. And it kind of that encourages the replayability as well, right? Because people will be like, well, that didn't go my way, so I'm going to replay the game and do this path and see if I like this path more. So it's kind of my little tricks to get people wanting to play different outcomes, because if we make one ending too bad and one ending too good, everyone's just going to go for the good ending and not have any interest playing through the bad route. So I was going to say something else and I forgot, like the Stumpy Quest, for example. That was what I was thinking. It's all about perspective. If those of you that are here remember the Stumpy Quest, I'll just give a brief overview. It's a side quest in the game where you can either let Stumpy die, or you can help Stumpy and help Stumpy avoid burning in the fire. But if you help Stumpy, you also let an old man suffer and get cold. But if you let Stumpy burn, the old man's happy and warm. So it's kind of about perspective, about who's more important to you. Some players might think, well, Stumpy's everything to me, that precious cute little log, I'm helping him. And others will be like, screw Stumpy, is a pest, he's giving the Lakefall villagers nightmares, so screw Stumpy, I'm helping the old man. So that's an example of, like, it's all about perspective. There's no tragic ending. It's not like the Stumpy death is the tragic ending, because it potentially isn't, because you've helped. The Lakefall villagers are going to have a much better time if Stumpy is dead. That's the sad thing. We don't want Stumpy to die, because I mean, I love Stumpy. I don't want him to die, but there's like a positive outcome from killing Stumpy, letting Stumpy die. And there's also a positive outcome for letting Stumpy live, because that's not on your conscience that you've let that living thing die. And yeah, the people of Lakefall are suffering from it, but it's a question of who's more important to you. What does your heart tell you? What are your morals? And everybody's different. It's a test. It's like a game that's going to make you think a bit and be like, and question yourself. And that can be a bit scary to some people, because they're like, well, I don't want my morals questioned. Leave me be. I don't want this on my conscience. But I have always been fascinated by that. I think it's powerful. And there is no happy ever after for Lakefall. No, we all just get along. But that seems a lot like reality. Racism isn't cured by one individual, although hopefully an impression is made somewhere. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's about getting that balance, because I completely agree that you want to give some hope. I don't think it's very inspiring, a story that shows that you've got to accept the racism and that's that. You can't fix it, never. I think that there has to kind of be an indication of some hope, because that's what keeps people going in this horrible, depressing world we live in, because these are the issues we face on our own planet, right? So hope's good, and you know, the thought that you can change the world is very, very, it can drive you, and even in a game. So I think I'd like to kind of give that hope for sure, that things are going to be better, and maybe things we can give hints of things potentially getting better to some degree. We'll have to wrap our brains around that and think about how we can show that hope somehow. I mean, I think the hope, for example, the hope is there a bit in the reptile forbidden romance story that we want to put into the game and fit in the scenes in the main quest as we play it. We'll run into that reptile couple who desperately want to be together. I think that's a real hope. And I'd like to kind of insert, you know, some of that with other NPCs as well. Not the same story, we're not going to have everyone being a forbidden romance, but with NPCs in a different way. So it's like, yeah, you haven't fixed the problems and the reptiles and humans aren't living in harmony like you might have hoped. Because everybody wants that. Let's be honest, we all want the humans and reptiles to live in harmony. The fruits can go die. We don't. The fruits are evil, right? Some weirdly might like the fruits though. But yeah, that would be the perfect ending. The humans and the reptiles living together. But yeah, maybe that's possible by the end of the game, but it might be a bit premature for episode 1. And although yes, we are exploring different themes, and episode 2, 3, etc. won't touch upon the division and racism themes as strongly, because we'll be exploring other themes instead. Having them come through a little bit is fine, and kind of a callback to what happened in the previous episode. Because we'll be able to like go visit Lakefall again, and we can fast travel, see how the people who are living there are getting on since we left. And obviously if the fruits do invade, then you'll see them there instead, and it'd be a shocker moment. You'll be like, what are these guys here? But we kind of said that maybe the hero would hear about it. Someone can come up to him and be like, yeah, the fruits kind of killed those villagers that you said goodbye to, hero. The fruits came, you probably shouldn't have let them live. And then be like, oh crap. But you can you'll be able to fast travel by the end of episode 1 and potentially go back and see how they're getting on, and that'd be quite an interesting scene, I have to say. But it could affect things massively, even though it seems really awful that the fruits are living there. I feel like I'd somehow want to put something really, not really good in that outcome, but something that's a reward at least. Because otherwise people would just reload the game and be like, screw that path, I'm replaying and doing the option where the humans or the reptiles get to live there, not the fruits. So having some kind of reward from the fruits being the ones living there could be an interesting one. We don't know what it is yet, but it's something to think about. But yeah, it's all very interesting. And I think that's the thing. It's about getting the balance right, because it's a sensitive topic, isn't it? Like divisions, prejudice and that. We want to do it right. So yeah, for sure we'll show that hope. I'm very fond of having plenty of wholesome moments in this game to kind of balance out the tragic. Because I want tragic, wholesome, funny, wacky, and even creepy moments sometimes, you know. It's interesting. All the emotions, what I call the emotions in this game. Okay guys, so what were we doing? Yeah, so I filled out the very first scene because I realised the carol scene originally, I love it. It was perfect, so I didn't want to touch that. I love the fact that she hits the hero, and what an amazing introduction with Carol, right? I think it was great, and all I wanted to do was just expand it and make it even more cool. So we had to like give an insult based on what your hero's appearance is. So your insult will be different. So there's a little bit of difference in the dialogue, so that because it's such a replayable game, it's fun to see the differences in the dialogue each time you play it if you have a different hero the next time. And there's just a bit of revealing information about Carol, like to kind of give a hint that Carol actually gets hurt from sharp objects as well, because I wanted to kind of subtly show that the player that barrels can get hurt by certain objects that are in them, because it was a question that was raised a few times, like, oh, so if you put something sharp in them, would it hurt them? And yes, the answer is yes, because I think it's good to make the barrels have weaknesses and their own vulnerabilities, because they are OP to a certain degree. They don't have a digestive system, so they don't need to eat to survive or anything like that, but when it comes to their safety, they are very vulnerable because they're only made out of wood and can easily be broken. And then it kind of felt like the way it was before that scene. The hero was inside Carol, she hit him, insulted him, and that was it. The hero was free to walk around Lakefall. There was like no effect. There was no effect from the cause, like no consequence from that scene. So I figure like the perfect consequence would be to have a villager over here, the ruckus, because of course Carol's doing a lot of yelling, hitting, that's noise. And realistically, the villagers are very paranoid at the moment because of the things coming to life and the dangers in the forest that they've got their ears out listening. So a villager is going to hear the shouting nearby and come and ask what's going on. And it's the perfect way to introduce the first Lakefall NPC into the story, and in a natural way, and kind of introduce the threat as well of what's going on in this story. Because of course, the way it was before, you could have found out that by talking to NPCs optionally as you were walking around Lakefall, but that would have been optional. Some players would have just walked past and not talked to any of them. So I think actually inserting it into the actual scene was cool, and a way to show that Carol doesn't want to be seen as well, so she'll panic and hide immediately. You'll only see the panic from the expression on her face, so it'll be very subtle. Her eyes will probably get bigger, and then she'll just hide. And so you have control as the hero then, and it's like the perfect time to make that choice. Grass Carol up or say nothing. And this introduces the threat, because you find out from that the people are scared of the things that are coming to life. So yeah, he's gonna smash the barrel if you've told him that there's a living barrel here. So bugger, after all the horrifying stories I've heard about the forest lately, that wouldn't surprise me. It doesn't look alive, but I can smash it with my axe just to make sure. And you as the hero, you do get a chance to back out if you have regrets. If you're like, oh crap, I didn't want that to happen, please don't smash the barrel. You can say no, don't bother, it was probably just a dream, like if you've got a bit of heart, if you've got a soul. But you also can go down the evil route this early on by saying, please do, she was a pain in the ass. And it's like really showing how high the stakes are in this game. I thought I wanted to do that as early on as possible. I loved the pushing Fiona Bookington and a like thing, and that's still there, of course. We're not getting rid of that, it's too good. But it happens too late. So I wanted to show it earlier on how strong and severe the choices can be in the game. So of course Carol's not getting killed off, so there'll be an interruption. They grab the axe, they're about to smash her, but someone yells the names. They're like, bugger, I'll deal with this later, get to work. And then they say, we need you warriors to keep us safe today, or something to that degree. I don't know if the dialogue's 100% perfect. If anyone here feels like there needs to be some, if it's wooden or needs to be flow a bit better, feel free to say. But this is a first draft that we've got, and I think it's all right. I revised it a little bit myself because it was even more a bit wooden before, but it's a bit better now. But yeah, I thought it'd be cool to like end it to kind of show that there are other warriors and hunters in Lakefall protecting the villagers, because otherwise it's kind of like, well, why are we here, and you know, what's the purpose of me as the hero being here in this village? And it's kind of like a way to make it seem like the NPCs, the villagers living here, just assume you're a sort of hired worker for them, protecting them. There's probably a few of you, and that way the villagers won't just be like, well, who are you? What are you doing here? They'll just assume that you're just someone who's there protecting them, killing the monsters for them. So the thing is, obviously there's no real consequences to this because Carol doesn't actually die, but there is, because it's going to affect your relationship with Carol dramatically. If you have done that option, it's not a good start to your relationship with Carol, and that's something to consider. Like, your relationship with Carol as the hero, how is she going to be with a hero who's more evil, who lacks that compassion? How is she going to feel about them? Because she's with the hero for selfish reasons herself. She's the inventory of any type of hero, whether you're evil, good, cowardly, brave, foolish, wise, or whatever. She is your inventory because that's her role in the game, in the series. But she's doing it for selfish reasons because she herself wants to be protected, and it's her way of sort of blackmailing. I don't know if that's the right word, but you know, she's been smart and found a way to protect herself, because no hero, not even an evil hero, is going to hurt their inventory. So she's been super smart there by getting herself as the infantry. But that doesn't mean she's going to get on with an evil hero. It's going to be a lot more hostile, and there's probably zero chance of romance as well with that hero. But I don't know, maybe someone disagrees and thinks maybe Carol could romance an evil hero. But I don't know, that's up for conversation, to think about how things could go differently. But yes, in this, obviously the way it's all ended, because it ends at this point, it's going to continue in Main Quest 1 Scene 3 after you've spoken to Nigel and got the first quest, because Carol's going to follow you out of the village, and she's going to be like, she's going to speak to you differently depending on how you acted in that opening scene. So if you tell the villager to smash her, she'll be like, out of all the flashbacks I've met, you were one of the worst. You were vile, simply despicable. I hope a giant tree eats you or something. So I feel like if you're an evil hero, maybe that attitude will continue throughout, unless you have a redemption arc, of course. Then maybe things will go a bit nicer, because of course that's possible. Just because you start off evil in the game doesn't mean you got to stay the evil hero. You can change and start making good positive choices, and then your relationships with the NPCs will probably get better from that too. And the opposite, you can start out good and go evil as well if you want. So you're not locked in, you know. It's not one of those games where if you've started the evil route, you've got to continue and there's no redemption. It's pretty flexible, and I think that's pretty interesting, because I love a good old redemption arc myself, and I love arcs where you go from good to bad as well. And if you went for the second worst option, if you told them you were dreaming, like you had the regrets, then she'll be like, this lovely barrel you were looking at is very real, I can assure you of that, you fool. Because she is real. She wants to know that people believe in her existence. She's very sensitive about that deep down. That is why she hates humans. She probably feels like they don't appreciate her existence, right? It's part of her character journey to finally be loved. But even though she never admits she wants to be loved, she'll be like, ew, gross. And if you told the villager nothing, she'll be like, you know, I don't like you, but at least you didn't rat me out. So that's the most positive you're going to get with Carol at this stage. At the same time, you know, she's she's great. She's glad you didn't rat her out, but she still don't like you. You're not going to get off to a good start immediately because it's too early on to have a good relationship with Carol at this stage of the game. But the goal, you know, if you romance, or if you don't have to romance Carol either, you can just decide you want a strong friendship with her. You can be a good hero and have a strong friendship with Carol that's non-romantic if you'd like to. And then you get an action choice. You can draw your weapon, you can run away in fear, or you can offer to shake hands, which this is probably the friendliest route, but it's still not going to go down well with Carol completely because she don't even have hands, so she's offended. But these two are a little bit meaner, so she'd be like, of course you draw your weapon, you dirty flesh bags know nothing but violence, I'll keep my eye on you. So she really despises you. You're kind of confirming her misbelief that flesh bags are vile, rotten, violent, all that, by being that hero. You're not teaching Carol that actually humans can be different. You're kind of proving that humans are scumbags to her. So she's not going to show fear. She might be scared. In all honesty, she probably is scared that she's going to get smashed up by you. But she's got too much pride to show that to you. So she'll cover it up with sass. And the running away in fear option unlocks the dialogue we had originally, which everybody loved. The wait up, you're avoiding my extended warranty, you're responsible for covering any damage to the suffer now, because that was the perfect dialogue to have for the running away. Because she's showing a desperation. She's like, no, you're not going anywhere, because Carol's aim is to go with you on the journey. Even if you're a horrible flesh bag, she knows it's a risk. She doesn't particularly like you, and she doesn't really trust you either. But she just thinks, I'm not going to get anywhere the way I am. I can't fight. I might get smashed. I've got to find my family. I'm going to have to play clever here and take this risk and go with this hero on this journey. I'm going to force myself into the party, because that's what the scene card says. What actually happens is Carol gives you a wallet because you were inside her for way too long and she feels violated. And the reason she wallops you, the reason she hits you in the first place, is because before this scene, there was an incident in Carol's past where a human harmed her. She reacts aggressively towards you because she feels unsafe again. That needs editing because we have officially decided on the Carol's backstory, and it wasn't her that got harmed. It was her parents. So that needs a reword. So before this scene, there was an incident in Carol's past. How are we going to say this? That caused the death of her parents. Where humans caused does that make sense, the wording of that? I don't even know if it sounds right, but before this scene there was an incident in Carol's past where humans caused the death of her parents. She reacts aggressively towards you because she feels unsafe. We can get rid of again. And of course, like, even though this is the start of the game, the first time we meet Carol, she's had backstory before this event, so what it all connects. It's like the backstory, what happened in this scene, which is why I wanted to set it in stone as early as possible so we could have character consistency. And because now we know what the backstory is, we can remain consistent with Carol's dialogue and the way she behaves with us throughout this episode onwards now. So yeah, it makes total sense now. Of course she'd punch you and be violent if this happened. And then of course the consequences that the villagers nearby hear shouting and they ask you what is going on. And we'll word that to a villager nearby. A village nearby hears shouting and asks you what is going on. Now, this villager, we haven't built them yet. This NPC is just a complete blank slate. We don't know what they look like, what their name is, or anything like that. And it'll be fun to do that together and decide who they're going to be. And of course, I'm sure they're going to have a bit more involvement in the plot as well, because there's going to be about a dozen NPCs living in Lightfall, I guess. And each one will have their own mini character arc. They'll have their own quirks, beliefs, agenda, and everything that will affect events in the story. We've already kind of figured out there's going to be a forbidden romance. There's going to be a human living there that's in love with a reptile. There's going to be their relative who is the one that eventually killed the reptile. There's going to be a human who is the old man in the Stumpy Quest, and we're gonna have to decide. We're gonna make sure we don't forget those ones, because they've already been planted into the story, even though we haven't built them yet. Carol realises she needs to be careful because there are a lot of humans in this village that might harm her. And yeah, because it's the same village, it's Lakefall. It's the exact same village and the exact same NPCs that were around when her parents died, so it's really harmful to be back in this place. Because she was on a cart with the hero, so presumably based on the dialogue, she's like, I was with you in that wagon for ages, what did she say again? Somebody kind of gives us the clue that they were travelling. Now she's back here again, and she's probably very angry to be back here again, to be honest. Carol understands it's best she hides herself and not appear under any circumstance. And I haven't filled in the in scene with Nigel Buckington, and I want to, because I might uncover things about this scene that I didn't realise while writing this, and that might mean I want to even, polish that dialogue further as well. I think it's totally fine as it is right now, the Nigel stuff, and I'm kind of happy with the structure of it and how everything is. I think we've done a good job of showing off Nigel's character. Just so you know, you're going to get the option to steal a blanket at this part as well that you'll need potentially. But if you don't want to be a thief, you don't have to either. Looting will be optional. But it could be a payoff. We talked about it in the Stumpy Quest, so those of you that were here in the Stumpy Quest will understand the significance of the blanket. It'll be for the third option in the Stumpy Quest. And that's why we've got the subplot section here, because then we'd have to fill in there's a blanket in the inn. Same as the reason why we've got the villagers show their fear of how dangerous the forest has become, because that's like a subplot, and the fact that the hero was hiding in the barrel for some reason unknown as well. Which kind of links, I guess, to the Lucky Charm hero development document I did, because the sort of very vague backstory I had in mind for the hero was that they were running away from someone. We don't know who they are, but they're running, and they hid in the cart where the barrels were, Carol's family, and that's when they found the Lucky Charm, and they saw it as a lucky charm because that wagon saved their life while they were hiding. It kind of connects with this and why they were in a barrel in the first place, because they were probably hiding again from someone. But there's a lot, it's still very vague, and I like keeping it vague because the hero is a blank slate. They're not a preset character, so I think it's good to keep it a little vague, because then, it doesn't mess it up, all the different heroes that can be shaped if it's too set in stone. So this was main quest 3, Carol joins you. It's the moment Carol joins you and becomes part of the adventure. She approaches you and attempts to convince you to let her join. It matters because before this scene, Carol realised someone with a weapon could help her, perhaps even protect her and make sure she doesn't get harmed or damaged by humans, which we did reveal in the dialogue here when Carol says, though if I had someone with one of those, they could help me find and that's when they get interrupted, because she was about to say help me find my family, but it's a little bit early in the story to find out that just yet, so that was a perfect part to interrupt. But it kind of clues us in on the fact that the barrel's up to something, and they are kind of desiring someone to help them, and then it kind of connects with the fact that she's wanting to join a hero she hates in the first place. So Carol, the consequence of this scene is that she watches you to struggle to fit items in your pocket. She figures out her perfect role is to be your inventory, so it doesn't actually click in her mind to become your inventory until she sees you struggling to fit items in your pocket. Because not even Carol's that sharp. It's not like she's going to come up with the idea that fast. So this is how it goes. You look at the barrel and then walk away. So this scene's just been expanded so that we can show more disbelief from you as the hero, I guess, at seeing this barrel. She doesn't just join you and you're like, oh, okay, then. There's going to be moments where you're walking away and you're like, yeah, I'm going. And you do that throughout the scene, and Carol just literally rambles to herself throughout the whole scene while you walk away. She's like, oi, wait up, you should recruit me. Not a single one of those flesh bags back there saw me hop across this bridge. I'm an expert at sneaking. But it hasn't convinced you. You continue to walk away, pick up a herb on the ground and put it in your pocket. And that's when she sees you struggle. And she's like, the way you flesh bags, your bare hands and your putting it in those tiny holes. Hops around you, inspecting your pockets. Oh, you are hopeless. And then she's like, I know, I'll hold all your spoils. Every hero needs an inventory. Just be gentle when you put sharp objects inside me, and don't fill me with too many herbs. They make me go funny. She gets high. So she grabs the herb then and throws it at you, and that's the moment the Lucky Charm will pop out your pocket, because we needed a way to make sure that the player knows that Carol can't see this item, because obviously everything will be ruined. If Carol has your Lucky Charm in her inventory, she'd know that you've been in the car where her family is, because she'd be like, this belongs to Meryl, this is Meryl's bra, this is Olive's ribbon. She'd go mad. So it pops out your pocket, but she doesn't actually see it. It's only like popping outside, and she's like, what's that? A lucky charm, huh? Guess you won't let me have that. Can I have a little peek? And obviously she can't, and the hero walks away, and then she's like, fine, keep whatever that precious thing is in your pocket, I'll hold everything else. And that's so that we can keep that on us, and we'll probably have it in our status menu as like, this is our Lucky Charm, and it'll be labelled with what it is, and it's the only one item in the game that Carol can't hold herself. And if we wanted to just make it more interesting, this is optional, by the way. If it's too confusing, I might not do it, but one idea was to make it have a passive ability. So if you have the bra, for example, maybe you're more, you can have some sort of buff in battle. I don't know, that's something we'd have to think about, what each passive would be for the charms, if we wanted to have it be involved with helping us in battle to a certain degree. It gives it a little bit more extra layers and makes it a bit more interesting, and having a potential buff from the Lucky Charm. And then that's where we stopped. So, hi Kung, this is so good. You like it, Kung? What's your favourite bit? So, where were we? And so yeah, she figures out a perfect role is to be your inventory. At that point, she watches you struggle and to put the herb in your pockets. Originally, this scene with the herb was only going to trigger after the battle, when you kind of killed the toxic plant and you picked up the leaf at the drops. But I felt like it kind of was a bit jarring to have a battle in the middle of this scene, so I kind of thought, nah, skip the battle and we'll just have the hero automatically pick up this herb on the ground during the actual scene, because there's going to be tons of items on the ground that you can pick up, like the potions in this game and the antidotes in this game. You know, there'll be tons of herbs and stuff to pick up. So I figure, like, you know, it's not unbelievable that they do that, and it just makes the scene a bit more seamless and doesn't interrupt with the entertainment of this Carol rambles. So yes, it was important to make sure that the players aware that you get to keep that lucky charm, because that's the whole narrative part of your relationship with Carol. The secret you have, the secret you're keeping from her, that you have got this item that belongs to a member of her family. And at this point in the game, you don't even know yourself that you've got something that belongs to a family member of Carol's. You're not even going to know until you hear Carol's flashback. Of course you guys know, because you're writing this with me, but the average player who hasn't read anything about this game will just think, oh, this is just some random lucky charm what don't have any significance. They don't even know that it's important to Carol. So this scene isn't really going to be that big a deal at first to them. But when everything clicks and they're like, hang on, this bra I've got in my pocket, or this smoking pipe I've got in my pocket, that belongs to Carol's family member. Holy crap, good job I didn't give it to her when she asked to see the lucky charm. She kicked me in the butt again. So it kind of will click. And I did kind of say as well in this section, where is it? Yeah, here it is. So we said Carol will become the hero's inventory early in the game. Obviously, we can't let her see the item. She must not know the hero has any connection to her family, at least not yet, so the hero will refuse to hand it over to her, which is what we've done in that scene. We've kind of just made the hero be overprotective of the charm and be like, no, this is mine. And I've done it in a way where we didn't even have the hero have to say it themselves. We've made Carol be the one that says it. She just is like, fine, yeah, you're not going to let me have that, because that's your lucky charm, and so, and where are we? So originally the hero was going to say, you can't have this, it's my lucky charm and stand with me, but obviously we don't want to have the hero say that, because it's extra branches and choices, because the hero only speaks when there's a choice. So I had to make Carol be the one that says it instead. So I just turned it around and said, oh, that's your lucky charm, is it? I guess you're not going to let me have that. And then she's like, can I have a little peek? So in this scene, Carol's pushiness makes the hero more adamant not to show her. It could go on to be a running joke. Carol could sometimes ask in scenes if she can peek in his pocket. And then you, as the hero, you can tell her the truth if you want. Each time she asks if she can peek, Carol's reaction could be different depending on how long it took you to tell her. So you can make it go on forever if you want and never tell her, but you can own up to it as well as the hero if you want. It adds more complexity and tension to the hero's relationship with Carol, especially if she's your romance option. It's likely she will be absolutely furious when she finds out you were holding on to one of her family members' possessions this whole time, and had even been in the wagon too. The longer you wait to tell her, the more angry she could be. So even though you have been in the wagon, and you are going to realise that when you've watched the flashback scene, it's still you don't know where that cart is anymore, so it's not like you have the knowledge of, oh yeah, I know where this is. You're as clueless as Carol to where the family are, but she wouldn't see it like that, because she'd be like, you've got the item. And maybe when the hero first realises the connection after Carol's flashback, you can either try to butt in or say nothing. So that is main quest 2, scene 4. Scene 3 after the flashback. So that will be the moment then when we as the player will have seen the characters for the first time. We'll have seen Marilyn the bra, we'll have seen Elvira with the pipe, etc, etc. So that will be the time when it triggers in the player's head that actually the lucky charm I've got is something that belongs to this character, that Carol's family member. So that will be when you get your first opportunity to want to tell her, but we're not gonna let you. We gotta have some sort of plot, like armor or whatever, to make Carol tell you to shush, because it's too early on right now for Carol to know that you've got this. She can't know that you've got a connection, because Carol at this point only thinks Rose has the connection, and that's why she makes Rose do that painting that's going to lead to the whole fruit scene. Otherwise all that part of the game would completely be ruined if Carol knew at this stage that the hero had the connection, because then Rose is irrelevant. We don't need Rose anymore. But Carol right now believes Rose is her only lead, so she's like, yeah, I need Rose. She knows. She can't speak, but she's gonna harm me. She'll paint that pain for me. And it's kind of like the hero hasn't even got a chance to butt in and tell the truth, because Carol just tells you to shush all the time. So it's kind of really, Carol's brought it on herself. In a way, it's not exactly the hero's fault, because you can be a good hero that tries to butt in and be honest and be like, look, I've got so-and-so's item here. But Carol being as aggressive and as she is, it's just like, shut up. And it's her own fault, poor Carol. The part where she jumps around and says about your bare hands and the tiny pockets, yeah, that was a great piece of dialogue. And it's going to be funny to do that scene, like actually put it together and see how Carol is when she looks around you. We says it'd be quite amusing, didn't we, when all that unfolds. I'm looking forward to doing that scene, because I haven't done that scene yet. The scenes at the moment are still how they were originally when they were very basic, so it'll be fun to expand them. I kind of wanted to prioritise getting the new custom hero overhaul done first, so we got the tall hero sprites, and once I've done that I'll go back onto tidying up the scenes. And I'm pretty sure that by the new year the scene work will all be polished, and then we can go into doing the battle stuff, but no battle stuff until the scene work is complete. So yeah, fun, very fun. I think we've got a lot more juicy plot going on than we did originally. It just makes the story more exciting, because the goal was to like hook the player in, right? We don't want the player to be like, okay, I'm bored of the game now. This was a fun RPG, but I've got other things to do. So we want to hook them in as much as we can, right? I think Carol's a decent hook, but it's just so many variables with the fact that, the choice you can make at the start, whether you want to get her smashed or not, and then the lucky charm thing, it just adds a little bit of choice and different variables and outcomes to the game that I personally think is very interesting. I don't think enough RPGs do it, if I have to say. I don't think there's enough RPGs out there that really take the different choices seriously enough. I think some have definitely attempted it. I think there's a lot that have, but not enough. There's not enough. And there's definitely some that have, and the ones that have tend to be the more tabletop inspired RPGs, like Pathfinder and things like that, rather than your more retro looking RPG that we've got here. So it's kind of interesting that we've got an RPG of this style that's doing that, because usually it's the more Western RPGs that do. Okay, so I'll hold everything that's going on in the room, Mr. Barrows, this flesh bag. Yeah, so this is the point where we want to finish off this scene, and I'd really like to do that today. I thought, yeah, let's spend today's stream just finalising Main Quest 3, because we've had it unfinished for a while. So I think we're very close to the end now. I was thinking what we could do here. I think this is the perfect time to have the introduction moment. The hero is finally ready to speak now, because before this, the hero's not spoke to Carol once yet. She just spoke the whole time. You've done actions, but you've not actually spoke to Carol and said a single word to her. So this is a really important moment, because it's the first sentence you're gonna utter ever to Carol. Even in scene 1, you didn't say anything to her. You just didn't say anything. I'm going to move this to be continued up a little bit further. And if anyone wants to follow along with this dialogue, because I know we can only see a certain amount on the screen at one time, Law Bible is there, folks. It's under the story section. Let's get the grid up so we can get these boxes looking okay. So how do we do the hero thing? I have a grey box for hero choices normally. But for any hero choice that is going to have a more severe consequence, I make it a black box. And just minor choices that affect the infinity and morals to a lesser degree will just be a grey box. But anything that's more effective, then it's going to be a dark box. It's the same as the pushing Fiona in a lake top point. I've made them dark boxes because there's higher consequences. Okay. So I'm going to just copy and paste one of the boxes. This is easier. I'm hungry. It's always so hungry all the time, even when I've like literally just had lunch before stream. Okay, so I can see this as potentially being 2 options, and one will give us plus compassion. And one plus Carol affinity point, perhaps. And the other will do the opposite. So we just need to change that to the angel emoji. If we use that so far. Yeah, we'll just copy that there. Because this is the more compassionate option. I'm gonna have to insert it manually. One sec, I've got to find out how to do this. How to get emojis up on keyboard. When I copy and paste, it messes up, so I've got to do it manually. It's the Windows key and the period button, guys. It's a useful little shortcut. Windows key and period button. There we go. So angel. Cool. So obviously we're not drawing the weapon. We can delete that text. Just type blah blah blah, and because it's going to be speech, we are going to use white, not in italics. I only use grey and italics to show actions in these dialogue charts. When speaking, I just have it white. Okay, so dialogue time. Hang on. I love the curved look now. So I've got it on now. It's pretty. Makes the flowers look pretty. Okay, so this is so important. This is the first time the hero speaks to Carol, so it's gotta be so good. Now, let's wrap our heads around this. This is first draft. First draft might be the final draft for all we know, but if we want to improve it, then we can. Feel free to give feedback. So I thought maybe, okay, so this is the good one. I'll try to tolerate you. Please call me name here. Not flashback. What is your name? So this is the polite one. Like, you're being nice to Carol here. So I figured the goal was with this, you know, so you're not going to be overly friendly because you're still getting your head around the fact that there's a living barrel in front of you. So you're going to be like polite, but not overly friendly. So I thought something like saying I tried to tolerate you is a good neutral but yet polite thing to say. It's not overly accepting and affectionate, because at this stage in the game we don't want the hero to be too affectionate with Carol. That's kind of why I cut the romance dialogue that we were originally gonna have, because I felt like it's too early to be flirting. When you're trying to wrap your head around the fact that there's a barrel here. The flirting does start though. I mean, we've still got the Morning Wood line here. It's not on this chart, it's up here actually. Here it is. So the first chance to flirt with Carol is in Main Quest 2, so that's there. So even that is still very, you know, it's not too flirty. It's more like you're kind of insulting her really, but at the same time your tone's a little bit seductive, I guess, and Carol's recognising that, and that's why she's blushing. She probably don't even get the context of Morning Wood, to be honest, but Carol's blushing at your tone of voice probably when you say that to her. So yes, where are we? How did we do the name thing? Did we make that grey? So he says you class's name. Yeah, I'll make that grey because it's a, what do you call it? When it's not text, the variable goes in there. So whatever you chose to name your character will of course go in there. Same as with the warrior and hunt thing. Now with our dialogue boxes we can't go on too long with text because there's a limit before it'll go over the screen. So I think that's fine though. I don't think that's too long, but only in game will I know if that's okay, but it should be. It looks fine looking at the length. Okay, so the bad option now. I can smell food. It's making me so hungry. Okay. Now this is the challenging one because I'm not a meanie face, I'm nice, so when I have to do the evil dialogue it's always a challenge for me. But we'll figure it out. So, because it's still gotta lead to the same point. She's still joining us, so it's not like it's gonna change anything. But I guess the aim is to make it harsher and that. So I've got an idea. I've got to just think in my mind how to structure this sentence. It might be a bit easier to do the Carol response from this first. So I have an idea. I've got a couple of things in mind for how that can go, but I'll go back to it. Now, her response might be different for the bad one, of course. Of course it probably will be, but we'll just do it for the good one first. So I'll move that up. So let me just actually, one sec, because this is mega important. I've got to get my Google Doc up. For the notes for the outline of this scene, to make sure we don't forget anything important for how we end this scene, because I know there was one more point that was important that we hadn't done yet, so I've got to remind myself what that was. Here we go. So we've done it all, as you can see. We've struck out all those points. So you would agree to tolerate her? Yes. So we've kind of done that. Like I said, we says, okay, I'll try to tolerate you, please call me so and so, not flashback. So this was the perfect part to finally get her known as Carol in the story. I feel like it was important to do earlier on, because the way it currently is, it's way too late in the game when we finally figure out her name's Carol. So I feel like this is the perfect point. So you've agreed to tolerate her, but the evil one, I suppose you have to tolerate her too, because she's still going to be joining you no matter what. But the dialogue is going to be a touch harsher. So Carol will, the final point is Carol gives a tiny hint of her goal as the scene ends. Okay, so her goal, if anyone doesn't know, is to find a family, and she's already kind of giving a hint here. When she said, if I had someone with one of those, they could help me find my interrupted. So we don't know what it is she's trying to find, but that was the first hint. But we're gonna expand, give another clue. and what a hint is. We're not going to spell it out just yet, though it's still a bit early, but I think kind of making it obvious she's after something kind of keeps us intrigued as the audience. So and so the way I think we should do this, because it would be a bit weird if we were just like, oh, I want to form a family. Like, she's not gonna just spell it out to the hero, and she actually doesn't. She isn't going to do that until she sees Rose, because Rose is going to be who makes her remember that she saw her in the wagon, well, on the top of the wagon. So she's still, that's not going to change. You're not going to find out that she's after a family until that moment, but I still kind of want to give a hint. So something like this, and I don't know if this is perfect, but something to this degree. So I'm Carolyn, just so you know. I don't know if M dash should go there really, or a comma, but I don't know, maybe it could be either. I like to double check on things like that as well, because I want all it's properly written, but we'll leave it like that for now. And just so you know, I'm the leader here. You follow me. I need to find something important. Something like that, to show Carol's impatience. She's also being very bossy, very Carol. Saying something like, I'm the leader, you follow me, kind of makes her feel like she's got the power and control here, because she don't want to lose that control to this human she doesn't know. So she's kind of just really asserting herself there and being like, I need to find something important. So again, there's a hint that she's after something, but we're not yet spelling it out what it is. That's not revealed until Main Quest 2. So like we said, if we have Carol give a tiny hint of a goal as the scene ends, that's the perfect way to end it then, because we've shown that Carol's someone on a mission as well in this journey and has something she wants to do, and it's the hook to make you be like, oh, what is it that she needs to find that's important? It's intriguing. So, but then she's gonna be like, we're gonna have to do this because it's also very important. She's gonna have to say something like, we'll have her, we'll make this grey and italics. She's going to walk up a bit, walks ahead. Now we'll say starts walking ahead of you, and then she's going to see, what I'm trying to do is Carol's going to have a change of heart, you see, because she's going to be like, actually, no, I'll follow you, because, she's realising that he's actually the bodyguard, not the other way around. It's kind of just silly Carol. Being bossy and wanting to be the leader, but then realising she can't be. Because Carol will not want to be a follower, really. She's very, very bossy, and she's very proud, and I think she'd like to be the louder voice in the party and have the say. I think that's very in her character to try and take over. So having that opportunity to show that in the dialogue as much as possible, I think is important. But the main purpose of doing this was to give a hint that she needs to find something important. Actually, no. I've got to remind myself of what Carol's common phrases are so we can remain consistent with the way she speaks. Though I don't know if she's an actually no kind of person. She might be, but I don't know. What about her saying you should go in front if you come across any mobs? Yeah, so I think the thing is, it's because when Carol's not actually going to be following us in the park. I mean, thinking about it, I'd like her to. I'd actually really like it if, because the way things currently are on the map as you actually walk as the player, it's only you and then later Rose who follows you as a party member. Because Rose is an actual playable character, and the reason why Carol doesn't literally like visually physically follow you is because she's not a party member, but I kind of do like the idea. The only thing is, Carol doesn't want to be noticed by people, does she? So she might want to hide away, and so something she could say something like, actually no, there's a lot of danger in this forest, I'll stay out of sight. You take the lead, I'll stay out of sight. She could say something like that, but I'm actually thinking I would like her to follow us now. I'm like, oh no, actually that'd be pretty cute if she did follow the hero. She's not in battle though, which is thing, but she is the inventory, so she's kind of in battle even if she doesn't physically attack like the other party members. So what about her saying, so like you should protect her? Yeah, she could say something like, actually no, you take the lead and protect me. Something like that. Would that sound very Carol-like? It's a challenging one, this is. So he turns around. Actually, no, not turns around. Faces you. We'll put this on a new line. So we're showing Carol's change of heart, and I think it's kind of silly and funny and kind of endearing to have her like show that bossiness, but then be like, no, you do it. You protect me. So it's just wording it right, because I can see how it's playing out in my head, and I want it to be cute and clumsy and endearing, but it's just getting it written down so it does the job of doing that. So and I imagine she'd have like her disgusted face at that moment, something like that. She'd be like, actually no, and then turns around. That face, perfect face for that moment. It's a disgusted face, but it could also be seen as a sort of scared or fearful face almost as well. Actually, she could say something like, if you want to protect your items I hold, then you need to protect me. Yeah, I think that could work, because once again we're reminding the player that of her little plan. The fact that Carol understands that if she's holding all your precious items, you won't want her harmed, which is Carol's game here. You know, so like sort of putting more focus on the fact that she is being the smart one here is probably a good thing to do, because we might have not made it obvious enough that Carol's plotted this and she's been really smart about it. So because we've had that moment where she gets excited and she's like, I know, I'll hold all your spoils. Every hero needs an inventory, so we've had to do that, which is what the purpose of the scene was. But I don't know if we've successfully yet shown that she's been quite clever about how she's plotted it. So that could be a good thing to do. So yes, I like that. It deflects the conversation away from her directly, even if she is the one needing protection, because she wouldn't like to admit that she'd need. That's true, which was the only thing coming into my mind when I says, actually no, you protect me. It's not very Carol-like, is it, to be like, yeah, protect me. She's got too much pride to be the one who's protected, which is why she was very like bossy and being like, I'm the leader, you follow me. And then her change of heart, she can't just be like, she's not going to show that weakness, even if she realises that actually no, she actually shouldn't be the one in front, because she's not a fighter. So actually, maybe she shouldn't say no. Maybe just actually ... and then faces you. Exclamation mark, because Carol's one to get very loud, so she's an exclamation mark kind of lady. She doesn't know how to do it, but they'll be there. She'll use them more than a lot of characters would. The only thing I'm thinking is, I don't know if we should have protecting here twice, so maybe if you want, how do we word it on here? If you want your items safe, maybe. If you want to keep your items safe, maybe something like that, so we don't have protect in there twice. And I agree. I think that's the way. It doesn't sound like she's being the damsel in distress, which we don't want. Where she's like, protect me. She would never do that. So I think this way she's saying it in a way that she's got that agenda. She's like, yeah, if you want your items safe, then you need to protect me. Like you say, it deflects. It's a good way of doing it. Okay, so and then she will go behind the hero, and that will be the end. Then you have control of the party and you can start walking. So I can't figure out what I word it. There we go. So I've put a lot of actions in there simply because it can be helpful, so I remember like how to do the movements in the scenes, especially in a scene like this when there's a lot of conflicted thoughts with the character, because it's kind of important to show that she is hesitant. She's realising, and she's like, actually no, and I should do this instead. So there's going to be a lot of expressions and walking ahead and then realising no, and then walking back. So okay, we can finally get rid of to be continued because we have done it. That's the end of the scene. But we got the other route, the mean route, so we'll get that done now. So something like, got the dialogue still has to lead to this, where she says that she needs to find something important. So I think it could, for the bad route, it could go very similar to how we've got here, but she's just going to be a bit more like angry because you've offended her a little bit. So And we got to still have the introduction thing. So something like, the thing that's coming into my head is we can always adapt this a touch. So I don't know if it's perfect, but so I'm not 100% sure whether that's the ultimate sentence for this, but you get what I'm trying to do. I'm kind of wanting her to still introduce herself as Carol. Oops. I still wanted to introduce herself as Carol. Let's get rid of the scroll bars because for some reason it gets weird when I have them there sometimes. So there we go. So I still wanted to introduce herself as Carol from this option because that's the goal. Introduce herself, give a clue, give a hint into the fact that she needs to find something. But be harsher. Be like, assume that she doesn't even have a name because you're being more. You're dismissing her. You're invalidating her and her existence in the world, and you kind of just are kind of in a bit of disbelief that there's a barrel here. So but she's gonna have something to say at that. Something like, it's definitely the asshole comment, that's for sure. And you haven't told her off for calling you flesh bag here. We could even have the hero threaten to turn her into firewood at this point, because I know that was suggested, but then that could be the perfect time when she's like, if you want your items safe, now that would be the worst mistake you could make. She could say something like that, and then we kind of finishing it with the same dialogue. Then it just plays out a little bit differently. So let's think. Depends how we want to handle it, whether we want to threaten her or like threaten her, or if we just want to dismiss her. It depends how harsh we want to be. She could, the good thing with the don't belong headline, she could say, I'm Carol and I don't know, it's not perfect. I don't know whether she'd react like that. I think she'd be more mad, and I don't even know if she'd say her name was Carol because she'd be that mad. But she has to say her name's Carol. That it just needs a bit of tidying up. So she could just get angry again. How does she act when she's angry? She's like, let's remind you, she's like, she says ugh a lot, and she's like, yeah, she could just be like angry and be like, excuse me, my name is Carol. So, because she's definitely too calm as the way it is at the moment. So I'm thinking, I mean, we can't make it too long because, as I said, we've got a limited space with the hero choices. You haven't introduced yourself though here, and that would mean she technically doesn't know your name. But you know, we could also just filter that name through other conversation and make it seem like she knew it from there. So it's not 100% essential. She'd be jumping about in rage about it right now, so she'd definitely jump in. Jumped up and down in anger. I mean, she does that a lot anyway, and I have tended to make Carol jump up and down in anger a lot in scenes when she talks. But I just want to highlight that so we know that she's angry. Which software are you using right now? This is Draw.io, everybody. There you go. And then she'd say things would play out a touch differently, because obviously we haven't had in this particular scene, we haven't had her change her mind. She will instead say something along the lines of, so if you want to keep your items safe, then turning would be the worst mistake. Would be your worst mistake. And then she could do like a cheeky grin, I guess. Cheeky Carol smile grin. Just because the firewood line, it has been mentioned in chat a lot. Like people are like, yeah, I can turn. What can't we just turn the mean option have threatened to turn her into firewood? And I was like, well, they'd be a pretty dumb hero if they did, because she's got all your inventory. So, and Carol knows that. So although she gets angry, but at the end of there's a flaw that I've just noticed. You haven't actually agreed that she can be the inventory yet, so she shouldn't be getting cocky just yet. Because technically you threatened to turn her into firewood before she's even holding the inventory. Unless Carol just forces herself to be her inventory. And in this part, she could be already picking up all the items and putting them inside her at this point. Before you've even said yes. Maybe we could do that. So, Frankie, whatever that precious thing is in your pocket, I'll hold everything else. We might not even need this bit. I only added this bit so we could call you Flashback, so that you could respond saying, please call me not Flashback. So, instead of her being so trying to persuade, I'm thinking she could just start picking items up. I keep saying the hero, but I say you and you're now. I think that's, to me, it's believable that Carol would do that. She's just assumed now that, yeah, she's your inventory, and she starts doing it before you've even said yes. Because perhaps when you grab the herb and throw, perhaps when she grabbed the herb and throwed it at you, your other items sort of fall on the ground as well. So that means she'd be able to easily just start putting everything in, because that'll be the moment the Lucky Charm pops out the pockets. So everything could have just fallen out the pockets, maybe. There'll be a way to do it. TY, you're welcome. I think I've made the grey text a bit on the pale side. Yeah, I think it's better like that. I think that's how it is meant to be. I mean, you might not have many items on you at the moment, but we'll think about that. We haven't had an item stream yet, and we'll have a chance to think about what you actually do hold at the start of the game. I mean, you've got your weapon and stuff like that, but that'll be on you, so you'll have that with you. So Carol wouldn't need that. But even if for plot reasons we have to have some items on us so that Carol can put them inside, then that's fine. We can put more emphasis on this. We can say something very important to me. Because then we're just like, what the hell is this that she's after? So yeah, we had to change that so she's already put the items in her, otherwise technically that threat, the firewood threat, Carol doesn't have the power because you've not agreed yet. But if we've done it this way, yes, it's too late, you're already the inventory, so she can entirely make that threat, which is cool. I think that's a good point. It might not be 100% perfect if we ever like read it and they're like, actually that bit needs a change, and that's fine, so be it. But I think we've got a good starting point here, and it might be all fine what we've got, but you never know. Sometimes we get in the mood to alter a few bits. I think we might need to make this box a bit bigger. Hey Rose, love what you do, keep it up. Thank you so much, Monkey. Thanks for coming in and for the kind words. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Okay. I think that's it. Is it scene end? Is it scene end? I think we've ticked all our boxes. So we've agreed to either tolerate. Well, we have agreed in that one. We just didn't have a choice there. So we'll cross it off. Cal gives a tiny hint of a goal as the scene ends. Which we've done in both options. So I think we've managed to do everything that we needed to cover in this scene. Awesome, because it was quite the scene expansion compared to what it was like originally. Just a slight change. I feel like that sentence shouldn't have. The end was a bit weird, and the period seemed a bit. Maybe the M dash together. To link the sentences so that there's not a period, because I think having the period there would make the gap too long, so that just links the sentences a bit better maybe. Okay, I noticed there was a massive typo in this last time. I said bare bands instead of bare hands, and I didn't realise until days after. It was like the way you flashbacks your bare bands. So who knows, maybe there's some of a typo somewhere, but it's good, fine again now. Sometimes it's hard, you don't notice when you're like streaming and trying to multitask, and you realise ages later. We love typos here. Oh, there's definitely been a few. It happens. going to say smirks, just because I find it very helpful just to write expressions and movements, because it can be easy to forget what you had in mind. I think that kind of would go. I like that we've clarified that Carol's being smart about this. In both options we've done that. We've been like, yeah, you need to keep your items safe, and so you need to protect me. You can't turn me into firewood. So it's good. I think we've kind of cleared every plot hole there is about Carol now, because in the beginning we had a few people in chat be like, but why would Carol go on the adventure with the human, you if she hates humans? You've had that question. It's like, well, this is why. Because she's read the scene card, and that is why. All this is why Carol wants to join a human she doesn't like. Nothing worse than a story with characters that are doing things that make no sense, or you don't understand why it is they're doing something. And I think filling these scene cards really helps to make the character just feel more realistic, and you uncover all their motives that you might not have even thought of. And I'm kind of satisfied. So this will be fun. I'm really looking forward to actually doing the scenes for this. So I think the rest of this week we're going to finish the dialogue for all of it. So we've finally finished main quest 3 now. So let me get our Trello up. And I think we will have some more story street related and outline streams and story ideas streams as well, the rest some point in this month. But we'll be going on to scene work a bit in December as well. We might do some scene stuff on stream, we'll see. Probably though, because that's kind of the main goal for the end of the year, to get all the scene work completely perfect before we begin the battles and fights. So what have we got? Yeah, quest and dialogue. So we can put a tick next to scene 3 now, because we've completed it today. So yeah, all main quest 1 is done now. It's we were in the middle of getting the dialogue in for the flashback and the fruit scene, which all of main quest 2's dialogue scenes are done, apart from scene 5, that isn't done. So it's all just about copying and pasting into the embedded lore Bible sheets. And I think we can do that next stream, and also look over the dialogue that's been done and smooth anything over that we feel needs smoothing out. And we can chat about the characters as we do it. Insert any extra dialogue that needs to be inserted, such as the point where you get to potentially butt in and admit you've got an item that belongs to a family member in her pocket. That would be in scene 3 after Carol's told you the flashback, but she'll tell you to shush. And then we'll do the fruit scene. We'll get all that put back in. And I think, yeah, maybe on Friday we'll have the time to finally do scene 5 together, where Rose does the painting, and finally put a conclusion to the dialogue for the first 2 main quests. I still have to fill in all the scene cards. There's 10 scene cards here, 5 for each quest, 5 scenes in main quest 1 and 5 scenes in main quest 2. It doesn't mean every single main quest will have 5 scenes in it. It just happens to be a coincidence that the 2 quests so far each have 5 scenes in them. It could vary. Some could have less, some could have more, some could have lots of short scenes, or just a couple of long scenes. It all depends on how we outline it to be. But yeah, I think I've only filled in that one, and the fruit scene one. This was actually the scene card I did first, the fruit scene one. But the others have to be filled in too, because who knows, there could be some real hidden realizations and feelings in these other scenes that we haven't unearthed, that we realise. And if so, if it turns out there's some hidden stuff that I've undercovered filling in the scene cards, because it all tends to come out when filling in these scene cards, then it's all we'll do is go back to the dialogue and add a couple of dialogue boxes or whatever, just to cover everything we need to. But I think it's okay, but you never know, we could figure something out about Fiona or Nigel or Rose and be like, holy crap, that needs to get added to that, I know, where's the scene to this scene with Fiona, or the scene with Nigel. Can't even find it now. There it is. So but yeah, I think we're on the way where I think by the end of the week, I think we might be done with dialogue, and hopefully we'll have time to do scene 5, because we haven't spent much time on that. We did begin it, we had an idea how the scene was going to unfold, we've got the outline there, we know that Rose is going to do the painting of the reptile in that scene, and we'll have Carol's reaction to that painting, and it'll be about what they're going to do next, go back to Lightfall and show that painting to people, and also what the conclusion with the fruits as well. We've got to kind of decide how the scenes are going to unfold with the fruits, depending on whether you kill them for good or let them stay alive. We've got to decide how that all goes. Yeah. And we'll still have some discussions of main quests 3, 4 and 5, as well as at PC's NPCs in episode 1 during story streams in between. And then once we've done the dialogue, it'll all be about doing the scenes, but not until we've done the dialogue. Keep it as an Easter egg. Oh, what is an Easter egg? I forgot what I was talking about. What game engine are you using? The game engine. Oh, Van's answered already. Yeah, thank you, Van, for answering. Yeah, we use RPG Maker because it's the perfect engine for doing a sprawling fantasy series that's very story driven without being too distracted by code, because it would almost be impossible for a solo developer to make such an epic if jumping into a very intense engine like Unity or something, because then there's a lot I'd have to create from scratch myself, and I'd be 80 years old when this is done, which is fine. This is a lifetime goal, but I intend it to not go on until I'm 80. Okay, so keep the bear bands as an Easter egg, as an item or something. What would bear bands even look like? That's what I'm wondering now. Maybe bears would be in the game. We could make that, I think. Bears are cute. Okay, so we have done well. We're doing well. I'm already looking forward to doing this scene, putting it together, but we can't. I'm gonna be strict on myself. I'm not gonna do it yet. We've got to focus on finishing the rest of the dialogue first before jumping into the scene work, because we might realise things need changing when we fill in the rest of the scene cards. But yeah, that's fantastic. I think I'm going to end there. I'm going to see if there's anyone on for us to pass the love to. I don't know if I've got time though, because I can see that my dinner's ready. I can actually hear the table being moved. So we'll see. I'll take us to Mia. Thanks for the stream today. Have a super evening. You too, Kunga. Appreciate you. Appreciate you all. Thanks for being out, folks. Trivia. I'm not going to have time, folks, for the trivia because I'm literally going to get called any second. So I'm going to just straight away take to me. But we'll do trivia next time. We'll make up for it. Because I'll be... Okay, so... Raid me. I'm going to have to, like... LOL. Okay, so... Yeah. I've gone over. I've well gone over today. So... I'm going to have to raid and run myself. So... Off we go. And take care, everyone. Thanks for the stream. I'll see you all on Wednesday. Thanks for being fantastic.